Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara, Jaya Jaya Shankara. Episode 61. Sri Mahaswami, the sage with eyes of light, the diary of a seeker of truth, Dr.Serge Demetrian. Dear devotees, now we shall listen to the second part, fourth section of this divine book under the subtitle At the Shivasthana Ashram. Kanchipuram, Monday, 13th February 1972. Mahashivaratri. The great night of Shiva, Mahashivaratri, is one of the most important religious festivals of the year. This morning I woke up tired. After a night when I woke up 3 or 4 times, a preparation for the next step of the organism, there is an advantage in these interludes. I go out onto the veranda, sit on a bench and repeat divine names while looking towards the east, where at barely 150 meters one sees her temple, from where the great goddess supervises her town and her world. While rising from bed, I had to fight off a volley of strange and not very spiritual thoughts, and the morning meditation was chaotic. Somehow I was stopped from going to Shivasthana, and it was only by 11 a.m. that I finished my morning wash and took lunch. At the beginning of the afternoon, I learned that Sri Mahaswami had come out of his ashram and had accomplished a pradakshina of the Brahmeshwara temple. It meant that I was not to see him that morning. I worked at home trying to read some pages about Shiva. The entire day had been hard to live through without a trail of physical irritations and of unleashed useless thoughts. It was as if someone had plunged his arm up to the elbow in the vat of the innumerable past births and was bringing out the foulest smells of the dregs. Even if the sediment is not so concentrated anymore, there are certainly some traces left on the inner side of the cauldron. It seems that the evening and the night of Mahashivaratri would be favorable for the destruction of what binds us to the chain of transmigration. So, let's step out and submit to the plans of destiny. Had I chosen a more peaceful life, I would have had the time to breathe, but I had become so much emboldened the idea of breaking records. I do not really think so. It is rather the presence of Sri Mahaswami. An Indian friend, gifted by a prophetic insight, had warned me sometime at the very beginning of my Indian sojourn, you will face hardships as you want to achieve in a single life what others attain in 30 or 40 lives. Here I have what I wanted. I have proposed concentrated terms to achieve this goal, and I have no time anymore to breathe. Hardly a few hours of peace and I am flooded by another wave of stinking mud. Several times a week, up to 2 or 3 times a day, according to my capacity to resist. Now, it is too late. It is no longer possible to stop or to withdraw, neither for the rest of this day nor for the rest of my life. I bought a quantity of bilva leaves that are loved by Shiva, and at 4:30 p.m. I started for Shivasthana in a not very spiritual mood. Mr. Kannaya Chetty had persuaded me to take his cycle. And he was right, you will come back too late and the buses do not ply at that late hour. The air changed almost imperceptibly as soon as I crossed the river bed of Vegavati. After having climbed the bend towards the left, I arrived in front of the sacred enclosure. I still felt like a piece of rotten wood and thought only to finish as quickly as possible and return home to swallow my dinner of milk semolina which was already prepared. After the first pradakshina round the temple and the hut, Sri Mahaswami appeared in the opening of the well in order to draw water with his kamandalu. He attentively measured me by a single eye, the left half closed. It is his habit when I am not yet prepared, and then he retired. However, this look was enough. Scale after scale started to fall down, and with difficulty I cleared myself to some extent of the miasma which enveloped me. I became the one who inhabits the body, and the everyday mind and body moved away, far away. Soon after, Sri Mahaswami appeared twice or thrice at the western window door. His open eyes sent a cold light as if they were made out of glass. He retired soon into his room and sat in the semi-obscurity with his face towards the north. He started to recite with a powerful voice the Shiva Sahasranama. He stopped and started singing with a clear voice, Na Karmana. Then he resumed the recitation of the Sahasranama. Unusually, I noticed that one of the mats of the western side of his room was kept up, and I was able to see him in the interior of his room. He was transfigured, the facial characteristics simplified, lengthened as during the Anushtana. After some time, he came once again to the window door. The assistants had brought earthen plates full of oil on which floated burning cotton wicks. One could not say who was burning, the night lamps or himself. He was a tree trunk of burning embers. Both his physical eyes, largely open, had lightning pupils. He repeatedly roamed the noisy and emotional crowd and myself with his gaze. Then he retired shortly to the little interior veranda on the western side. Just the time I needed to throw onto the roof of the hut over his head the bilva leaves that I had brought with me, and he then came back to the window door. This last coming out was the most impressive. He carried me off and took me with him, although he had only lightly touched me by his look and not even directly in the eyes. He entered his room with the aim of performing the important puja that marks the Mahashivaratri night. It was as if he was looking for a place to sit. I hastened to establish myself at the western wall, which I found unoccupied and the best place I could hope for. Sri Mahaswami approached slowly directly towards me up to 1.5 meters. He made sure that I am there, and then only he sat facing north on the ground for the puja. He started with the large movements of salute in all the major directions of space. More impressive, it seemed to me, were his appeals. I did not understand what he was chanting. Someone nearby was talking about Rudra Chamaka. What is sure is that bit by bit, with immense difficulty, the hard rock of this body and this mind became earth, then a grey jelly, then glass, still grey and vaguely painted by the consciousness of the name and form. Finally, in the heart, there appeared a luminous void. Although I found myself in one of the most unfavorable positions for the meditation, that is, kneeling on broken bricks, huddled down, as the opening to see Swamiji was very low, and I was moreover compelled to fight for my place with a group of hyper-dynamic widows. The climax of the puja had just started. It was the moment when the assistants recite Shiva Trishati, the 300 names of Shiva. With the recitation of each name, Sri Mahaswami offered with equal and energetic movements flowers, rice, kumkum. In the flickering light of the night lamps, the room seemed a cavern in the center of a mountain where an extremely secret mystery was being conducted. The voices of the four men who recited mounted in the night, somewhat muted but vibrating with faith. I concentrated hard and prepared myself. Then I deliberately placed in the wooden plate in front of Sri Mahaswami's feet and the Purusha out of my heart, that is the little Shivalinga of slightly cloudy rock crystal. Soon after, it was Sri Mahaswami who gave it back to me. But so much it had changed. It was clean and even. The central part was not the same. In its place had been fixed a little stick of an extraordinary brilliance. It was not light in the same way as the lightning that shoots from his ordinary eyes. It was of the nature of the light, a reality totally freed of materiality. With his own hand, Sri Mahaswami replaced the Shivalinga in my heart, and the little central stick became even brighter and lit the entire structure of my body. I do not know how long the marvel lasted. I had to take some rest, one or two turns around the ashram, and I came back to my place at the opening of the well that nobody had occupied in the meantime. Sri Mahaswami was still at the same spot where he had celebrated the puja. I powerfully meditated on him in hope that he would become me, which he did, and joyously. He came like a hurricane, whipped out my customary reality from its habitual place, and became me while remaining he. Then it was only himself who existed, and it was he alone that came out of time, space, casuality, the universe. A hole had formed, a black devouring hole in the realm of time and space. Nothing existed anymore, neither form, nor color, nor light, not even felicity. What existed for a few seconds or minutes was existence in itself. I was allowed then to ask for something. I prayed for final liberation in this very life. The positive reply descended as a moving curtain of luminous bliss, which made the folds of the orange robe of Sri Mahaswami drift towards me. I heard his voice in the heart. Now I received the power to accomplish that. How can you talk like this when Ishvara is yourself? Was what I thought of as a reply. Almost immediately he stood up from his position of folded legs like a youngster without the help of the hand on the ground as it is usually done, and this with a surprising ease and rapidity for a 78 years old person who had sat in Padmasana for 2 hours. He often forgets that he had put on the body of an elder. He came to the western door with bars. I quickly went there and contemplated him. 3 times he left and came back. I understood that for today I had received all that was due. I performed a few more pradakshinas round the temple. I took the advantage of the darkness, and at the statue of Dakshinamurthy I bent my head so that its top touched the right foot of the statue. A clear wave of blessing let itself be felt along my spine. I stood then in the opening of the main door of the temple through which Nandi always adores the Shivalinga in the Garbhagriha. I noticed that it was just the moment of the milk abhisheka. A wave of ethereal light immediately invaded me. I left Shivasthana asking myself what is the meaning of the 90% out of the total minutes of a day that are not yet transparent and where I perceive only dense material existence. Why does it exist or seem to exist? These thick clouds of the transitory seem to float over the boundless ocean of existence. In town, I passed in front of another temple dedicated to Mukteshwara. It is the one near the cloth merchant's chowdhury, a beautiful and serene place. It is said that during Mahashivaratri, one should touch by hand at least one temple of Shiva. Here the Shivalinga and especially the group of 9 planets, the Navagraha, blessed me as one of theirs. Immediately afterward, all of them radiated bliss as if they succeeded in accomplishing a difficult mission. I was much too tired to visit a third temple. My Indian friends visited several on Mahashivaratri, as on that night by tradition one should not sleep. I reached home by 1 a.m. and fought against drowsiness by writing this report. To write about Sri Mahaswami is the same as writing on Chandramaulishvara, who is Shiva in the heart of man. Devotees, we shall continue to listen to at the Shivasthana Ashram in the coming episode, bowing at the holy feet of the Gurus. Aum Sairam. Hara Hara Shankara. Jaya Jaya Shankara.